Welcome back to One of One PLLRS Podcast. Sitting with me today is, I guess, an old friend.
Man.
It's funny, we went to high school together.
Yeah.
This has been forever. I haven't seen you in 16 years. And I call you, we were just talking about that, I call you Kaz.
Yeah.
People call you Kaz, but Kazeem Famuyide.
either one works.
Yeah.
It's all that matters. I just got tired of correcting people, so I was like, Kaz.
People got to stop playing with your name. You got to pick one and start correcting people.
Nah, you know what? I just started, you know what my thing is? At the end of every 7 p.m. in Brooklyn, I go, my name is Kaz. You can call me Kaz. My name is Kazeem Famuyide. You can call me Kaz.
Yeah.
And just it was just easier. But I just felt like I got to start saying my whole name, last name and all. Just, stop making it easier for white folks to mispronounce it.
Nah, black people messing up too.
They're messing up the most.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But nah, man, like, we haven't seen each other in 16 years, but the power of social media, I got to see, like, you know what I mean, the growth of everything you've been doing as well. So it's like, it's really dope to, like, not see each other for a while, but still just be like, that's my man. Of course.
I appreciate it, bro.
Of course.
What's funny is you mentioned 7 p.m. in Brooklyn.
Mm-hmm.
So, one, congratulations on the show.
Thank you.
You guys have been killing it. I just recently saw the interview you guys did with Katt, and I thought no one could top the joint he did with Shannon Sharp, but you guys did an awesome job.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Like,
I still don't think we could top that, but that was legendary.
You guys did an amazing job.
Thank you, man. It was really fun. It was really fun. Katt is like, and that day was like hilarious too, because the way Mellow Studio was set up, it's in the cut. It's like deep in like Red Hook, Brooklyn. So like anytime like the guest comes in, usually like, it's a chill vibe. Like, come in, shake hands, get a drink, whatever, relax. Katt came in, energy on 1,000, on 1,000, because we had several comedians on the show earlier in the season, like, and as we talk, like, black comedians, like the Katt Williams subject always comes in. So as soon as Katt walked in, and this is like before cameras is on or whatever, he's just running down everybody, like it just roasting everybody we can. Like, God bless him, because I'm fans of him and friends with him. Thanks for coming on the show, but like, all the comedians that came on the show, he had something to say about them. But it was one of those things where it was like, as fun as that was, if the cameras was rolling as soon as he walked in, it probably would have been like 1 billion more views or something like that.
Shout out to Shannon Sharp. He did a great job.
Yeah.
I feel like, I just feel like I preferred your interview. Like, his was first, so shout outs to him, definitely. Yeah. And, like, I know he's, like, whatever's going on over on his end. But I think you guys are definitely holding it down, especially for the space of athletes turned podcasters or rappers turned podcasters or whatever.
Yeah.
You have a journalism background.
Yes.
Like, actual journalism background.
Yes.
What do you, like, how do you feel about, obviously you're on the pod with Mello. How do you feel about people transitioning or journalism adjacent being like a second career?
Well, it kind of feels like whatever I feel is sort of irrelevant, because you got to evolve with what the times are, right? Like, back in the day, you could be a straight up, broadcast journalist, television journalist, print journalist, whatever, and that'd be good. But, the advent of social media, the advent of just, people wanting more access directly to the sources of certain people, and having the ability to have people sort of open up the way they want you to, you kind of got to get in where you fit in, right? Like, I can give my opinion all the live long day on the podcast. If people want the source of something, they're going to go directly to the source. So a lot of things that I sort of known, that I saw sort of coming up was, audiences were drifting towards like athlete, and just celebrity, influencer, actor, talent-led content, right? And being able to, sit in that seat and be with Mello and Rudy and Kid Mero, Monica McNutt, and all those people, it's a blessing, because I get to be in the position where I think media is going, but I also get to, not really change much of what I do, still sort of be like in the journalist seat. And as much as it's a fun conversation with everybody and whoever the guest is, I could still turn my hat to the front and still, ask the question that I believe the audiences would like to hear as well. So it's been amazing. Changed my life, obviously, but it's been really fun. And Mello's just like, you couldn't ask for a better like co-host. You know what I'm saying? Like he's my favorite ball player, my favorite Knick. You know what I'm saying? And on top of that, as cool as you think he is, he's like that much cooler in real life. So it's so much easier to like have great guests want to come on and hang with him and talk with him, and like it just makes people feel very comfortable. And I think that all adds up to making like a really good show that people enjoy, that, you know, doesn't feel too clickbaity, doesn't feel like, you know, we're trying to play the gotcha like game with certain people. Like, yeah, you know, it's like we kind of take after Melo's personality, right? Like it's, you know, he's not really a chatty patty like that, but he's a great conversationalist, and he's somebody who's super interesting. Especially that the year leading up to him going into the Hall of Fame, possibly getting his jersey retired in the Garden, like all this other great things happening for him. So I'm just blessed to sort of be in that position to sort of ride shotgun as the journalism side of the podcast.
That's dope. And low key, like, it was fire how you did that whole journalism Jedi thing where you didn't really fully answer the question.
Wait, all right, so what was the actual question?
I was like, how do you feel about it? Like, you know, because you didn't really like go into and it's cool if you don't want to. But I mean, a lot of people are doing it. Jim Jones just released a podcast. Shout out to Jim. Yeah. Like, he's killing it in terms of like rap recently. In terms of, like, I was a huge Dipset fan back in the day. So,
I think Joe and Jada are killing it. You know what I mean? Like, I think, you know what it is? I feel like surprised me. It didn't surprise me because
not Joe, Jada.
Joe and Jada are like, when we're doing 7 p.m. or we're doing any podcast, when Joe and Jada are on the docket, we know it's going to be a fire episode because they got stories for days. They kind of like, as popping as they are, they're sort of like the Forrest Gumps of hip hop. Like, they've been in every situation, so they always got a story to tell. And, you know, I've worked with Joe a bunch of times. When I was executive producing DJ Khaled's podcast, Joe was our first guest. And this is during the pandemic. So, like, I got to sit in with him, Khaled, and Joe in, like, Khaled's house while, you know, Joe, being the great storyteller he is, like, I was, you know, we was calling him Joper Winfrey for a while. Just like, yo, he's just a hilarious storyteller, great interviewer. I think they tried like the talk show route a little bit afterwards with Stars, but I think they really nailed it with the podcast. But to answer your question, I have no problem with it because, you know, a lot of these people, you know, as it might be surprising coming from like a journalism purist that like I'm not, you know, shook by, you know, artists sort of coming into that space because they've always been in the public eye. They've always sort of been front-facing people. So they kind of have a specific sort of talent that I think, you know, a lot of, you know, traditional journalists don't have, which is that comfort in front of the camera, that comfort to talk. And, you know, for better or worse, that comfort to just kind of say whatever. You know what I mean? Because if I'm interviewing Joe and he's telling me this crazy story that nobody believes, you know, the onus is more on me as the journalist to like poke at it and be like, you know, like what really get the truth out of him. You know what I mean? But if it's Joe and Jada just shooting their shit, like it's entertainment now. You know what I mean? It's just I just enjoy watching them talk, you know? So when the talent is the media, I think there's a little less pressure on them to like hold up any sort of like journalistic integrity, right? Like I'm just watching to be entertained, and if I learn something, if it's fun to watch, if it's anything like that, cool. But there is definitely a little bit more pressure as a person that prides themselves on being a member of the media to ask good follow-up questions, be able to, you know when somebody's BSing you or not, know when to dig in, know when to let them talk. Like it's sort of like it's definitely like a art to it, you know? Like a lot of times you can just let people talk and that's great. But like you mentioned the Shannon Sharpe interview. The Shannon Sharpe interview is great and Shannon was great in it, but that was really Katt. And like anybody could have sat in that seat. You know what I mean? Katt was just going off, and like it wasn't like Shannon Sharpe was hitting you with like the Barbara Walters or anything. He just it was his platform. He was there. So I don't mind it at all, man. And you know, there's only so many people you could blame for the shift because people are watching it. Like you're only going to go where people are watching.
I think. I remember when Nori first came out with Drink Champs, and I want to say one of the first episodes I saw was when he had 50 on. That was probably, to me, one of the best episodes of Drink Champs ever. And it felt like you were a fly on the wall for a conversation you weren't supposed to be listening to. Nori was asking questions, but from the point of view of someone that was there versus like an outsider.
Yeah.
So it felt so much more dope. You know what I mean? He knew where to go because he was there.
Yeah.
He knew what to bring up.
Yeah.
And like, I think that's the dope thing about podcasts, the ability to sort of be authentic. I still think there's a space for journalism because you do want the outsiders or people from the outside asking the questions that we're going to ask from the outside. You don't want like journalists becoming too cozy with the subjects because then,
you definitely don't. You know, like you definitely. I think there's a delicate balance to play with it though, right? Because like I think, you know, in my specific situation, like you have to build a certain comfort level with that person, with that co-host, to be able to like know when they're bullshitting, to like challenge them on it, to, you know, go back and forth. And like that person has to be comfortable in their skin to, you know, sort of be that. Like, are there outlets, are there publications where there's like a very famous person and like a guy who's just kind of there to sort of like facilitate it and make sure like the image is nice and clean and nothing gets asked that isn't supposed to be asked and all that type of stuff? Absolutely. But I think what makes 7 p.m. special is that like Melo's entire career has kind of been on Front Street, like the good, the bad, the ugly, like the personal life, all that type of stuff. So he is non-judgmental off rip. You know what I mean? Like, so like when we have folks come on the show that, you know, people will, you know, feel a way about or like have a certain specific perception about them, like Melo kind of steps in the front of it at first because he's probably lived it already. Like we had Russell Wilson on the episode, like obviously there's obvious things that people think about Russell Wilson when you talk to him, but it's like they have a specific relationship. And you mentioned the fly on the wall thing. That specific relationship that they have is the hook, right? That's the reason people are watching. And when you watch it, you get to sort of see a different side of somebody that is different than what other people might assume. We had Offset on the show, you know what I mean? And it's just like any question that we have about, and it's not like we dig super deep into personal life, but if we do, we know that like our co-hosts have been there, you know what I mean? Like it's not necessarily, something that makes it a difficult conversation to have. So I just think it's a balance, man. Like a lot of, you know, there's so much media out there, like you can go and find like the hard-hitting journalism stuff, and it does what Pablo Torre is killing it right now, doing nothing but straight up hard-hitting journalism. You know what I mean? And there's a ton of other platforms. There are journalists that have become influencers, that have become media personalities themselves that are like great to watch. But I think if we just focus on stuff that's negative, like that's you know, not seeing the forest from the trees. There's just so much things out there that you can sort of pick and choose what suits you best, and then let the chips kind of fall where they may after that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I'd blame that on like consumers or whatever. I mean, that's the stuff people like to hear, the stuff that you want to keep private, you want to keep secret, and unfortunately, most of the time, that's like
personal
things
stuff
that might be perceived as negative. The positive stuff, that's very easy to like. People.
Gonna, you can do that all day long.
Your publicist is going to push that out. Like you ain't got to go looking for it.
Yeah.
In regards to your own personal history, I know we started with the 7 p.m. in Brooklyn. I remember my first time seeing you do anything media related, and it might not be your first time, but I remember you put out Stash magazine. Yes. This is way back in the day.
Yes. God, it's already way back in the day.
Yeah, it's way back in the day. Right. Now I remember that it's funny because I was doing something completely different. I think at the time I was running I had started like an IT company. Yeah. And I saw you start Stashed. And it was dope because it was a reference point for me where I was just like, okay, cool. I don't necessarily have because I believe that was in conjunction with Steve Stoute.
Yeah, so I was working at Translation at the time, and I was hired specifically to sort of launch their media platform. Like Steve Stoute wanted to create, like, you know, this is heavy blog era, era, you know what I mean? There's still a lot of platforms, magazines out there, and Stoute wanted his own. So I was at Hip Hop Wired. I got hired over at Translation, and I helped build Stash from the ground up, from like an online property to like a physical magazine to a podcast network to a sneaker store, apparently, now in San Francisco. And that was, running Stash was probably one of the more gratifying things in my career because, I came in as a magazine kid. I felt like I was one of the last of the magazine, folks to kind of break through before the whole magazine industry sort of like collapsed on itself, right? Like I was at the Source for about 4 years. I worked, like right after college. I had, I had got an internship at the Source while I was still, in school. And, I was there for 4 years, worked myself all the way up from intern to writer to music editor to online editor to, basically jack of all trades. And then went over to Hip Hop Wired for, I think, 2 years after that. And, we're knee deep in the blog era, competing with like the Nah Rights and the Two Dope Boys. And, we're under the Bossip Moldum umbrella. So we have like a big sort of platform and all that type of stuff. And Stash at that time was like a combination of like all of my like media interests and dreams in one. And like this legend of the industry being like, I'm going to fund this. Don't even worry about making money. Just make it dope. And I'm like, okay, let's do that.
Yo, that's right.
I was like, all right, great. So we put out, after I'd run the website for about 4 years and, we were doing like online, platforms and like interviewing artists. And, at that time we were also doing the Made in America Festival with translation. So like I had like all access to like everybody there. So, I had 3 days of shooting content that would last me for as long as possible while I was, chugging in whatever was happening on the daily. And as that grew and as our network grew, we put out our one-of-one sort of like coffee table book, which, 0 ads in it. And to this day, people still come up to me like, yo, I still have the Stash book. It was done with lots of care and quality. Wiz Khalifa was on the cover. But like, if you look inside it, and I'm proud of it most, is like, all those people that were in that magazine like went on to do like amazing things. Like I still can't believe we were all friends at that. Like Pete Davidson's in that magazine, right? And like Pete was like, and like Pete was like still doing like Wildin' Out and like just got into Saturday Night Live, right? And Carrie Champion and Lita and bunch of incredible talented people. But the actual product of it, I was super proud of because it was top quality writing, it was top quality photography. Ravy B, who was like a fucking superstar photographer right now, did a lot of the photography for it as well. And we got to do real magazine shit, like travel and like not just get like press photos and stuff like that. Like we did it the way it was supposed to be done and it was quality. So like I really enjoyed, working with Steve Stoute and, doing Stash, that translation. And they were awesome to me, man. I couldn't ask for a better opportunity for a young media guy. Still in his like 20s, still trying to like, break in. Like that kind of solidified me. Like I'd already had like a pretty like decent media career, like hip hop media career leading into that. But like, there's nothing like editor-in-chief at the top of the masthead. Like that was what I was working for my entire time in college, to like put something out and at the top of it says editor-in-chief Kazeem Famuyide. You know what I mean? So I loved it.
It's dope too because like I guess now looking back, like you probably didn't have any idea or anything, but me seeing you do Stash initially was like my first like reference point for like media shit. Like I was just like I'm running an IT company, I'm bored, and I started Tech Blog because I saw you doing that, and I was like, yeah, let me check this out. So that's like,
man, that's deep. I appreciate that, man. That's crazy.
It was like I started the blog. I sent a bunch of emails out. I think I sent you an email too, and I sent a bunch of emails out to people, and then I think as I went through the process, I moved through just very like eager to learn. I wasn't trying to make any money. I was just trying to produce as much value as possible. And me, again, like outside of seeing someone do something or whatever, a lot of that stuff, because I mean, like you were saying, it's a blog era. A lot of stuff is like foreign. They're out of touch. Like you're watching Cribs, like this looks like something that's happening in another universe somewhere. Not, you know what I mean?
And I hear you.
So Yeah, that was dope. I think that was fire, especially for you. But us, like, coming from the same place, watching you do like a bunch of cool shit, and then feeling like, oh, like maybe I could go do some possible. Cool shit too.
Man, it's you're not the First off, I super appreciate that, and you know, you're not one of the first people that I either went to high school with or college with that like, you know, started something because they were like, yo, like you were one of the first people I seen like go out and actually do some shit that was like really cool and like make a living from it. You know what I mean? Let me know that it's sort of like possible. And not that it wasn't impossible, just that, you know, we had classes together, right? Yeah. Like we was in the same like rooms or whatever. So like I understand that, and it's never lost on me how like, you know, incredibly humbling it is, because like you're not even thinking about that when you're trying to create something, especially in the media industry. I would say like that time was like a time that I don't think could ever be replicated in like New York City media, yo. Yeah. Like it could never be replicated. Like anytime like I try to explain it to people, I feel bad because it's like whatever part of New York life ended before the pandemic, a lot of it died, I want to say around 2017, 2016, where, you know, ads got pulled from certain publications, from internet publications, just the funding around hip-hop media in general, just not as existent as it once was. Like every night, you know, my typical day back then when I was like just trying to get on was like getting up early, getting to the office, like knocking out my blog posts, doing my like editorial meetings, and then like once the day is over, like there was always something happening at night. There was always like a listening session or a party or a concert, and all your constituents are there, all the other people from like XXL and Complex and Vibe and like all those guys, and you just sort of like create this sort of like bond within each other of like this black media. And, you know, it was something that it definitely felt like camaraderie. There was competition for sure, but there was definitely more camaraderie back then because everybody knew everybody. All the artists knew, you know, a lot of the media folks. Like my big in at the Source was I was the youngest guy there, and all the guys that were older than me or had been there for a long time were chasing the artists of that era, like the Ludacris's, the T.I.'s, the Eminems, like those type of people. I came in with fresh eyes, fresh out of college. It's like 2009, and like all the artists I listened to were like people that became friends of mine, like Wale, Wiz Khalifa, Big Sean, J. Cole, like, and they were just dying to get into the Source, and I was their plug in. So it was just like, okay. And it wasn't just me there, like all of the artists, like all of the guys who popped off in the blog era had that same sort of relationship that you see like athletes have with like specific like beat writers, right? Like, you know, because you
believed in them early on. You felt like they were worth writing about, worth engaging.
Of course, yeah. Like, you know, you could getting your music placed on like a specific website at a point in time was just as important as like getting a radio spin. You know what I mean? Like if your song was on Nah Right or Two Dope Boys or XXL or Complex or Vibe or Source or any of these places, like that was a big step in making it, you know? And, you know, we were all still sort of figuring out how this whole thing sort of played into the large game, because these artists that are now massive artists now were all just trying to get on like we were. So like I think that era was special because New York still felt like it was the place you had to come if you thought you were really hot, right? Like it was like a specific timeline you had to follow. You got the blog posts, you got some buzz, your Dat Piff drop, you got some downloads, you got a little trending topic, and then you hit SOBs. You do SOBs.
If I remember that.
And if you killed SOBs, where, you know, it wasn't, SOBs may fit like 200 people max. It is not a big place. But if you were buzzing the artist, that place was like the Apollo for like who was popping. Like certain shows I'll never forget was when Drake first went there, killed it. 2 Chainz went over there, killed it. You know, B.O.B., I mean, just a ton of artists that were like had that buzz, did SOBs, and like now you graduated to like Highland Ballroom, or you graduated to Gramercy Theater, or you graduated to Irving Plaza. And if you bodied all three of those, now you a Garden Act, now you Barclays, now you know what I mean? And then it was just off to the races after that. But so many artists we saw go through that process that by the time they made it to a big festival stage or like a big, you know, stadium or arena show, like a part of you as a you know, member of the media that believed in them early kind of felt like validated, right? Yeah. And they felt the validation for you because they, you know, countless artists that I didn't even think, you know, I think I'm just, you know, posting their songs, like it means nothing to them, whatever. Like artists that have come to me so much later down the years, like, yo, you don't understand. Like, yo, when you put me in the Source, like when I finally got that first Source publication, man, like you don't understand. That was like bigger than anything that happened to me at that point. So he was like, yo, I just want to like thank you, appreciate you for like, and I'm sure it wasn't just, you know, me who have done, like the Source was what it was at that point. Yeah. Like it was all right. Like we were still, you know, climbing out the Benzino mess and in the bankruptcy and all that type of stuff. But I could only imagine what it was like for folks who worked at like Complex and Double XL and like all these places that were like really putting people on, you know? So it's really just it's a part of New York that'll just never be the same. And I don't know if that's just because like I was in my 20s and single and had no kids and could be out all night and party with rappers and drink and all that type of stuff.
Into a whole nother story.
It was a lot. But yeah, man, I'm just always very appreciative of it for sure.
Like I remember the blog era. I remember those rappers. I remember like I was going to say before Complex, I remember Carmelo had like a blog, and like that was, I felt like that was Complex before Complex. That put me onto a bunch of artists. Carmelo now is, man, shout out to Carmelo.
Complex, I think, absorbed all those places. But like the A-Life building, Supreme, Carmelo, you know, store, like people go and perform in their backyards and stuff, like during shows, and like it was just gosh, I don't even know if people can still like pull shows like that anymore. You know what I mean?
It was like, the perfect balance between like digital and like real life.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Because there was still like the digital world still hadn't really crossed over into like the real world yet. You know what I mean? Like it sounds crazy, but like one of my early years in the Source, like, you know, I had to go and convince my CEO, Londell McMillan, like why certain artists were cover worthy. Like, yes, I know they didn't sell any CDs yet, but he's got like 40 million downloads on his mixtape. He's a trending topic on Twitter. Like, what's a trending topic? You know what I mean? Like, it's like all these things that are just so no-brainers now that could like, man, like people know who this person is, even though like he didn't sell records yet. Like he can go to Barclays right now and fill that place up. You know what I'm saying? Like it was just a different time. But I think in that space of like not necessarily knowing exactly what the digital to the physical music world was yet, like you got to have a lot of authenticity. You got to get a lot of realness from artists and media. That Wild West part of it made it fun. Like it made it like
tweets weren't making the news. Like you could say whatever. You could say whatever. Back
Dog,
then.
How many?
People had to go back and delete like mad.
Man,
tweets.
Listen, my catchphrase that time was spend the $8 because there was a website called tweetdelete.com that if you spend $8, they'll go and just wash your whole Twitter account. And I had to do that because I was wild on Twitter for a while. I was wild, and I was like, yo, if anybody sees this, I will never get a job again. I found it worked. And then so many people, like I've literally saved the artists' lives by being like, yo, sign this up, just clean this shit out. Like you could even like type in certain words. Like it had like a filth detector or whatever. Like anything.
Just watch it. It's nothing you were saying back then that is worth hearing.
None at all. None of them tweets are worth anything keeping up. Just
because I mean the thing is too, like back then was a different time. The things that like if you look at for instance, I was talking to somebody the other day. The Hangover would never be made now. You know what I mean? It's a lot of stuff that you feel is cool like a week ago that like 2 months from now you might be like, oh shit, let me go back.
No, that's a big reason why they don't even make big budget comedies anymore, because it's not worth the risk of spending that much bread to possibly offend somebody. Like one person gets offended, and then like now it's just like we just wasted all this money, and now there's this like online sort of like pitchforks being held out to not watch your movie. You know what I'm saying? So like I think that's all that Wild West sort of not really being politically correct, not really knowing how to speak online. Like before everybody had a social media manager and all this type of stuff, and it was just people in their phones and just connected with one another. Like that's gone. But that era that existed in it created like some real magical moments and real opportunities for people like myself and others to like truly build a career out of it.
And connect with people. I mean, people,
for sure. People I still connect with to this day because of that damn app, you know? So it was definitely worth it for sure.
So fast forward, you start potting, right? Mm-hmm. And if at any point, feel free to like, you know, we could keep fast forward.
No. Yeah. I'm an open book, bro.
Yeah, but so you start potting. So I think the first podcast I saw you on was the joint with Schulz.
Flagrant. Flagrant
was
too.
Flagrant.
Yeah.
So you did Flagrant for a while. Mm-hmm. You left Flagrant. Mm-hmm. Like, was that just an evolution of, okay, I'm moving on to the next thing, or?
It was a lot. It was definitely a confusing time of my life. I'll say that much. Like, so like Flagrant started because, you know, I had done some spot dates for MTV for a while, MTV2, all this type of stuff. I already had a good relationship with Charlamagne, but that was when I was doing some of the MTV2 stuff, writing, doing some like, you know, man on the street camera stuff. That's when I met Andrew Schulz. That's when I met Akaash. That's when I met, you know, Kid Fury, Crystals, like all of these like people who became like just mega stars in the podcast world. And, you know, I had sat in and did a guest episode of Brilliant Idiots with Akaash and Andrew one day, and it killed. And just out the blue, we were like, we should just do a podcast. Like, we should just try it out and just be about sports, whatever. And I said we should call it Flagrant 2, just because, you know, just flagrant takes, sports, like tie into it. Like we were, the timing of this conversation is so funny, especially given the whole like cancel culture thing, because that was around the time that I think like cancel culture was like starting to like get its legs, you know what I mean? And we were very much I was very much the like, even though I don't agree with you, I'm not going to fight you on your right to say that. You know what I mean? Like, and that's kind of what the dynamic was. Like Andrew and Akaash were the wild stand-up comedians, and I was sort of like the straight man that would be like, yo, like funny, but you know, and to this day I'll still defend it. Like, you know, like there's no I think there's definitely room in this world for like healthy debate, healthy discussion, healthy disagreement. You know what I mean? Especially if it's funny. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, if it's funny, I will laugh. Like, as wrong as it is, I will say, damn, that's wrong. But if it made me laugh, it made me laugh. Yeah. And I think in 2016, 2017, that was a pretty safe thought to have. And it just sort of evolved, you know, into what it became, which was, you know, analysis by assholes. Like, I'm going to do this sports podcast, and it's going to be like First Take, but uncensored. Like, we're just going to just talk about the shit that they don't talk about. We'll have whoever we want on it, and it just grew and grew and grew. The split sort of came from, I would say, a little bit of what you said, but also a little bit of like personal, just like maybe this isn't for me anymore. You know what I mean? Like, I think initially it started because I personally had other things that I wanted to accomplish as a media, sports, you know, sort of personality. And they, you know, being stand-up comedians, had like different goals. And there were definitely certain times that, you know, I was Fred Flintstone in it, man. Like, I'd be doing the X Games at, you know, in Aspen for like 3 days, and I'd have to fly over home and bang out a podcast and then like other way around, and it was a lot. And you know, I'll never be like, I'll never shit on those guys, but there was definitely like a disconnect. Like there was definitely like we're not gonna do this anymore. You know what I mean? But like my personality is never to be someone to be like, oh, fuck those guys. Da, 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 da. Like I wish them the best. I wish them well. I mean, like they're obviously killing it. They made $1 zillion doing the podcast, and it is one of the most popular podcasts there is. But at the end of the day, like there was definitely certain times that like I just was not comfortable. You know what I mean? Like there was certain times where it's just like, is this?
You mean like as a journalist or
just as a human being? Though, like there was definitely a strong change in the podcast and the dynamics of it after, you know, we got pulled into the Rogan verse. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like once Andrew was a Joe Rogan regular, like things changed a lot, you know, and for them, for the better, right? Like for what they were going for, like that's the place they needed to be at. And I guess they felt that I was expendable, and I felt like this really isn't for me either, you know? So, you know, there's never hate on my side from them, but it was just one of those things where it's like, yeah, maybe it's just best to go our separate ways. And there was definitely some difficult years after that because I had to see them continue to rise and get as popular as it was. And personally, I probably wasn't in the place in my career that I felt comfortable. You know what I mean? Where it was just like, damn, maybe I should have just ate shit and just did the fucking thing. You know what I mean? Like, but it wasn't necessarily. I think I had to stick to my guns on that one. You know what I mean? Like, I think, you know, whatever it was, you know, there was hard days in those couple of years after the podcast where I was like, damn, maybe I really fucked this up. Like maybe I should have like just whatever I was feeling in this chest, just push it down and just do you. I've seen many people do it. I've talked to so many popular podcasters that were in this situation. Like I've become like the fucking podcast Yoda for a lot of people when they're having issues with their co-hosts. Like they come like, hey, you had something going on with such and such. How'd you handle it? Yeah, there was definitely like some years where I questioned myself. Like, you know, I think anybody would, given the circumstances I was in, right? It was like, you leave or you have a split. On top of that, it was like, you know, it wasn't just like, oh, we just stopped doing this podcast. Like, these are my friends at one point. And then like, it was just nothing. You know what I'm saying? So I was just kind of like, huh. You know, it definitely hurt, but it definitely gave me the sort of like resolve that I needed to like really lock in and do what I think I was meant to do. You know, which is what I'm doing right now. And
it worked out great for you.
I think it did. I think
the whole podcast Yoda thing. I wouldn't give everybody advice because I know a lot of people stepped away from different podcasts and it's been quiet.
Yeah, not exactly. So like, there's been a ton of people who had hit me like that I'm friends with that were like on popular podcasts and split and like asked me how I'd handle it and all that type of stuff. So it's like, you know, there's definitely, I didn't want to be that guy who like left Flagrant and people were like, damn, what an idiot. Like this guy, fuck, you know? So like that was driving me. I'm like, I don't give a damn. Like I'm going to make sure I'm not that guy. You know what I'm saying? So like whatever, like it gave me a work ethic that I didn't think I had already. Yeah. But, you know, there's no greater motivator than
proving somebody wrong.
You know? So it definitely does. So, like, it took a while, but, you know, I think it definitely worked out for me and it definitely worked out for them. And it's with a rare of, it's rare when, like, a podcast split happens and, like, it works out for everybody. You know what I mean? Like, usually there's, like, a...
But, I mean, like, are you guys in a better space now? Or?
I mean, we don't... I see him around. I see them both around, and it's love. But like, I wouldn't say like we like catch up on each other's kids and stuff, and like grab dinner or anything like that, which is totally fine. But like, you know, like it's just not my personality to carry that much, you know, animosity towards anybody. You know what I'm saying? Like, if we did work together, if my mantra is like, if we did anything together where we were like this, I'll never have hate for you. Like, if it's a relationship, if it's a friendship, if it's a business, as long as nobody died or nobody was purposely hurt by anything, I just move on. Yeah. It serves me no purpose to hold animosity. It serves me no purpose to be stuck in the past. It serves me no purpose to, not be looking forward. You know what I mean? Like, and I don't have to be driven by like, I gotta prove you're wrong to still not wish you the best. You know what I mean? Like, so.
Yeah. I think I've split up with like different businesses. Like, I mean, there are different situations where I started with someone and it just gets to a point where we partnered where our paths ran parallel, and now we're at a point now where they're veering off, and I don't think that's necessarily a negative thing.
No.
The people we were when we first linked up to do business aren't the people we are now. We evolved. Our goals are different. That doesn't necessarily mean I don't fuck with you as a human being or a person. There's a way to like not make it nasty or fucked up, but like oftentimes, like, it's so personal, especially as entrepreneurs. Like, we put so much of ourselves,
and especially podcasting is a personal business. Like, you're putting a lot of yourself out there. You know what I mean? And I feel like there was more people that wanted me to be more angry than I was gonna be. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was something where it's just like, I see. I think I just saw Schulz and Akaash in Paris, I want to say, or on the way back from Paris. Something like that, and ran into Schulz at Monday Night Raw a few months back as well, and like I'm a different person than I was in 2016, right? Like, they're different people as well, and it's just I'm never gonna wish harm or ill will towards anybody I once had love for, like, so. Whether that's a partner, whether that's a relationship, whether that's a friend, whether that's a girl, whether that's business, like, I just don't move that way. Some people do. Some people can. And, I feel like people probably want me to be a little bit more anti-Schulz. Like, anytime some shit happens, they're like, yeah, I'm like, that's just not even my character, bro. Like, I'm not even focused on
and you've been doing great. Like, you've been doing fantastic. Like, you've been part of like so many like cultural like moments. Yeah. Right? So like I think at one point there was there was like the whole Henny / Dussé Palooza thing. Which is dope. That was like a whole epic, like, man. I think when parties were like still parties. That was a big thing.
That was definitely like some of the most fun times of my life, like that was something that evolved from that same New York energy that we had in the blog era, right? Like, the same relationships I built through the magazine and through the blogs and all that type of stuff was, up until we got the Dussé partnership, every single one of those artists that came and performed came because of me, on the love. Yeah. Like, don't even pay me. I'll come and pull up and surprise the. I mean, we just know this shit is popping and we want to come out and show love. Like Nipsey Hussle came, No Bread, Rick Ross, Wale, Pusha T. I mean, like, I can't.
Shit was like magic.
It was a magical time, man. Like, it was, we're all in our mid-20s. We're all sort of working. We're all, single-ish and had no kids. And a lot of people didn't want to pay, club prices to go party no more, right? Like, people still wanted that feeling of what they got when they went to college parties or anything like that. And, Palooza was just like, not just a beautiful time in New York, but I just think a beautiful time for like creatives in general. Like, every single one of us that was part of that has like gone on to do like, and is still doing like incredible things within like music industry, entertainment industry, anything like that. From the top all the way down, everybody has gone on to do some incredible stuff, and I love that. People have gotten married because of Palooza, that have had kids because of Palooza, that have gotten, deals done there. Like, just it showed me that I could do experiential as well. It showed me that I could take something that starts online with social media with my friends and help bring it to life, and having it like evolve as organically as it did. Again, a time in this city and probably in this country that probably won't ever be replicated again.
I feel like we're going back to experiential. I think I would hope so. Off from it, and then I think post-COVID, I think people are ready to sort of step away from the digital. I think we're kind of finding the balance between like the digital experience and the actual like human real life.
Yeah,
like,
people want real life experiences again. You know, like people are
festivals
and concerts are having record gates again because people want to get out and see things and experience things in real life. And I think a lot of folks probably lost like 2 or 3 years of like the most pivotal times of their life. Like if they were like in their mid 20s or early 30s, and feel like they had to get a little bit of that back. So like, you know, maybe not so much for me since I got little ones now, but yeah, man, it's the story of Palooza is just like that's still a story that I think needs to be told one day in its entirety.
Yeah, that could be a doc. I see a Hulu doc.
Like the amount of like powerful players that came together to help make that happen, that helped made it grow, that knew about it, that had their freaking promo runs for their albums work through our party and like, yo, I gotta show up here, I gotta do this. And then Jay comes in and like puts the real stamp on us, and like Hennessy not really, you know, seeing the vision with us. Like it's like the all-American story right there, you know? And it ended right when it was supposed to end, which was right before the pandemic. Like the Barclays Center, biggest joint ever, and the world shut down. And it was like, I don't think people want like Hennessy squirted in their mouth by, or Dussé squirted in their mouth by like water guns, germs, you know what I mean? Cove, all this.
People would have still pulled up. They couldn't.
I don't know. It was a scary time, man.
COVID, man. People were still pulling up.
And the speakeasies? He was doing the speakeasies during the COVID?
I was outside.
Oh, man. I might have did one of those joints. I was like, oh, y'all living lawless.
But the fake vax cards, like, we was outside.
Yo, they're really, it's crazy. We used to really have to carry around vaccination cards.
I had to join on my phone, but like, dog, my boy was hustling. Vaccine cards. We was outside.
My joint was beat up from the feet up.
The whole plane was first class. Nobody was flying. You had whole rows to yourself. True. It was crazy.
It was nuts, man. But Palooza. I mean, just if you just think about everybody that was part of that joint, like myself, Cam, Rory, Raven, Chris, Peach, Benner, like. Every single one of these people either have super popular podcasts, super popular, creatives, or like highly ranking executives somewhere. You know what I mean? Like low-keys, like host Apple Music every day. Like everybody's done something. So it's one of those things where like it was like an inside joke between us, but we were like, we feel like we're like the New York creative like Wu-Tang Clan. Like everybody kind of has like their thing, but when we came together it was like magical. You know what I mean? So
that has to be validating for you to be like, I mean, I don't know how many times you were wrong, but for you to be right about so many things at so many times.
I definitely, my intuition is like my most powerful gift, you know, and I'm not really into astrology like that, but like I'm learning that like
anytime
Pisces,
somebody's like, I'm not really into astrology like that, they go into this whole astrology.
I don't know nothing about astrology, but I know about my own. I know what a Pisces is supposed to be like, and it's like they're sensitive, but their intuition is like 10 out of 10. And it sounds simple, but a lot of times I just trust my gut. I'll just be like, yo, if I think it's cool, I think a lot of people might think it's cool. If not, at least I think it's cool and I'm enjoying it. So like, if you're not enjoying it now, maybe you'll catch up. And if not,
it doesn't matter.
Who cares? I like it, you know? So, yeah, I mean, like, I definitely do feel like I'm wrong about a lot of shit too. But I always trust my gut, always trust my intuition. Like, it's rarely steered me wrong. And it just makes me feel like, you know, a lot of people that come up to me that I work with behind the scenes, that I do like brand work with or consulting, anything like that, the most like gratifying gift you can get is like they're not working with you because of the company you represent. They work with you because of you. Yeah. And like they know what you bring to the table. And like the whole meeting could just be like, we're just gonna sit down at this table and we're gonna put some ideas down, and whatever you think is cool, we'll pay you for your ideas. Great. Let's do that.
That's a dope segue, because another thing you're right about, and I'm going to give you, and it's only a handful of guys I give credit to. So I would say you, Wale, and What's
Side Gun?
No. I was going West Side Gun's in there too, but I would say more so
to the
you,
wrestling?
Wale. I'm going into the wrestling.
Okay.
You, Wale,
Action Bronson,
and,
Dizza.
Action Bronson, yeah, I give him credit too, but son over at High 7.
Peter Rosenberg.
Rosenberg.
Yeah,
Shout out to Rosenberg. Apologies. I was having a
I was thinking of rappers. I was like, white Jewish guy, Rosenberg.
Yeah. But you guys sort of did a really good job, especially for Free in the beginning, like being like these like ambassadors for wrestling. Especially to the urban hip hop audience.
Yeah.
And part of the resurgence or the love affair that hip hop is having with wrestling now, I would give you guys like all the credit for it.
Man, I appreciate that, bro. It's definitely like, that's another thing that like astounds me because like, you know me for a while. Like I love hoops, I love hip hop. But like
wrestling's always been a thing.
My first literal memory of my life was watching wrestling in my dad's lap. Like I was maybe 1.5 years old, watching the first ever Survivor Series in my dad's lap with like the Mega Powers versus like Big Boss Man and Akeem and shit. I'm just like, I don't know what this is, but it's bright colors and people yelling and muscles and like this is really cool. Like it was my literal first thing. So like, you know, I've gotten to do so many cool things in the wrestling industry without actually wrestling. It's really dope to like kind of see where it is right now. You know, like I never would have guessed. I never would have guessed like not just like having a podcast and like media and stuff, but like I always tell people this. Of all the jobs that I've done in my career, that year and change that I spent as a writer for WWE taught me more about the entertainment industry, about how to deal with people, how to think on the fly, all this type of shit. Nothing prepares you for life on the road like that. You know what I mean? Like you just got to kind of do it. And, you know, they just put out a documentary on Netflix called like Unreal, where they kind of give you like a little glimpse into behind the scenes of like how this whole thing is like put together. And even that didn't really like drive home.
I'll go
just
check
like,
it out. The last wrestling documentary I saw was the McMahon.
The Vince doc. See, everybody loves the Vince doc for sure.
That was a good documentary, bro.
But Unreal, you know what I mean? Like it kind of gave me a glimpse into it. And it's like now even thinking back to it, like I was one of like the last... Like my days there were like some of Vince McMahon's last days over there. So like, you know, seeing how he maneuvered and worked and like how people worked around him and how I got to like use my creativity to like kind of help certain things as well. And like, it just taught me so many things that I use to this day, man. Like, and I love that. And I don't get that opportunity without Wale. You know what I mean? Like Wale and I, like funny enough, how we found out we're both wrestling nerds was like maybe my second or third year working at the Source. Maybe my second year. And I think Ambition was about to come out. And I did like a whole feature with Wale where like the full on, you know, Almost Famous feature where I'm like following him around, like fucking trailing him, doing that whole type of shit. And like as we're doing it, you know, like we're just learning more about each other. Like we both knew we were Nigerian, so like, oh, instant comfort right there. And then, you know, the more we talked to each other and blah blah blah, and like the wrestling came up, and then we just going back and forth. And it was like really some stepbrother shit where it was like, yo, did we just become best friends? And he was like, yeah. So, you know, we went to a couple wrestling shows and hung out there. And the first time I really knew that we had something wrestling-wise was the first Walemania, which was WrestleMania 32. I want to say in San Jose. And it was just like, you know, he was doing it with this guy, Court Bauer, who runs MLW. And, you know, Wale's this super popular rapper. What could we do to sort of like mesh these things together? So like we just sort of did our own sort of like fan fest mixed with like a Wale concert, just because, you know, Wale was into it and he, you know, invested his like time and like effort and his name into like I want to be down with this wrestling industry, however way, shape, or form that could be done. So like we had the Hardy Boys come out, Rey Mysterio came out, Conan, you know what I mean? All these legends that like, you know, Wale was a fan of, but like was a fan of his too. And that sort of like grew and grew and grew, where every year, you know, people were starting to equate WrestleMania with Walemania. It was like, you know, WrestleMania is fun, but like that Thursday night, it's like the turn up. It was kind of like, how can I bring what I've learned from Henny Palooza and Dussé Palooza into the wrestling world and make it like this cool experience that has nothing to do with like an actual wrestling match. Like people can see these wrestlers as real people and be fans of each other, and the rappers and Wale's friends could come out, and it could be a big mutual admiration society, and it's just grown and grown and grown. And this past year we celebrated 10 years in Vegas, and Netflix sponsored it and all that type of stuff. Yeah, it was incredible. And you know, a lot of the real bug out is when like I meet wrestlers that I'm a fan of that are younger than me, and they'd be like, yo, I've been listening to you and reading you since I was a kid. And I'm like, I'm like, what?
Yeah. I'm like, since I was a kid, it's crazy.
I was like, since you were a kid, I'm like, I think I'm still a kid. It's like, I've been watching you. You know what I mean? So, but I'll always love pro wrestling, man. Like, some of my best friends are pro wrestlers. And it's changed my life for the better, man. And I love being a voice. I love that, you know, networks and brands will come up to me and they'll be like, hey, we need somebody who knows what they're talking about when it comes to wrestling. Hey, Kazeem. Or he'll know somebody to get to. So it's like,
so why end it after the Netflix deal? I feel like you guys are like at the top of your game. That means if you're going to end somewhere, that's a great place. But
yeah.
You guys are like,
so it's a number of things, right? So like we did sort of a spin-off of it this past SummerSlam called Summer Bash in Gramercy Theater, and we had Action Bronson, Bret the Hitman Hart come out, DZA, obviously, DNA, Tay-Rock, Chess. They had a Saga had a 4-way battle as well, like really sort of like emphasized it. But it was the first one I did without Wale, and you know, it wasn't that Wale wanted to stop doing it. It's just that after 10 years, you know, both myself, Wale, and the WWE were definitely growing in different paces, right? Like WWE, I would say, I got a great relationship with them, and like a big hook of Walemania, in addition to like the cool part about it was like the parties and the vibes, and basically like the welcome to this host city vibes of it. The cool part about it was WWE would like help us out. They'd be like, yo, you know, can we get the Usos to come? Can we get such and such to come? And, you know, before, you know, the TKO, merger and all that type of stuff, WWE still ran mostly like a mom and pop. Like, I know these people, they know me, like it's all gonna work out well. And it's basically like, if Hunter and Sean and all these people think it's cool, we're gonna do it, you know. Now there's a little bit more red tape, right? And granted, I wouldn't bury it completely. I still think there's something there, but it just had to be the way it was originally done. It couldn't be done like that anymore. I do still think, if I had to be a betting man and put some bread down, I still do think there is a version of Walemania out there that's an evolved version of it that can still be done by the time WrestleMania hits Vegas, or there's any other big events here in the country that would sort of warrant it. But it was the time. 10 years is a nice round number. Wale had an 8th album to focus on this year. And it was time to sort of like close that chapter for a little bit until
it makes sense again.
Another one could open up. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So I mean, I'll ask you like maybe one more question going out.
Mm-hmm.
So that brings us full circle. There's some other stuff in between. You have some other podcast projects and so on.
Mm-hmm.
But you land at 7 p.m. in Brooklyn. How'd you initially lock in with Mello for that podcast?
Man, so when 7 p.m. in Brooklyn was originally being ideated, there was a number of potential guest hosts that were in the mix to do it with Melo, and that was one of like the last 2 or 3 cuts before they decided on Mero, and I was heartbroken about it. But they were basically like, so not even that. So initially they wanted me to co-host Podcast P, like when Paul George was doing the joint, but they wanted to do a specific way. They were in LA, didn't really make sense, but I was one of the first people they called to kind of do it. But they were like, yo, if we ever do like a New York version of this, you're going to be one of the guys that we call for it. I get the call. They whittled down the list. Just Melo and Mero. But they were like, but stand pat, like there still might be an opportunity here. And the first episode we did was probably, still to this day, probably my favorite episode. It was right after Melo came back from Paris for the Olympics. And, I don't know what we call them, the Avengers, the Curry, Braun, Durant U.S. team went out there. Melo's courtside coaching them up on all that type of stuff. And they called me. They were like, yo, Melo's coming back. And, somebody's got to tell the story about like how he saw the gold medal game. So like doing that first episode was like our first time having like a real extended conversation like that. Like we had, seen each other around the way. Like we had mutuals, but like we didn't really like know each other like that. But the producers of the show, TD, EJ Wright, Pierce Simpson, all the folks at Wave, like I worked with them, in various places over the years that are like, trust, you're going to be perfect here. And then, we did that one episode. But after the episode, like is when we really got to know each other. And like, we did roll one up, had some wine, like, and just like shot the shit for like hours. And it went from like a getting to know you conversation to a getting to know me conversation. And like, we just clicked immediately. And every episode just became better and better and better. And, now, like I think we got one of the best podcasts out. And,
I agree with you.
Melo, I think, I really do believe in like the stars aligning, you know what I'm saying? And, he could have been on some like, nah, I want my guy to do this or whatever. And like, but he knew of my work and obviously I know of his, and he trusted me a lot. And, Mero, go back to my MTV2 days. Like I know Mero for forever. Even when I was at The Source and he was doing like blogs with Combat Jack and stuff, like I've known him since way back when. Me and Monica, we was on MSG together for years, you know what I'm saying? So like it was all sort of like people that we had been in the mix with for a while, but I think it was the right sort of ingredients to sort of make it work. And the podcast itself and the way it's set up like invites real camaraderie between each other. You know what I mean? Like there's, once we're done taping, man, like we're just chilling. You know what I mean? We're having drinks, we're watching TV, smoking some Stay Mellow pack, like, and just really like, creating like a really good bond that I think comes out on the show as well. You know what I mean? So it definitely translates. And he's like I said earlier, man, like however cool you think he is, he's not much cooler in real life, man. Just a good brother, good heart, and I think personally that all of the bullshit that has been thrown his career and thrown his, like on his name has made him sort of Teflon. Like there's no skeleton you could pull out of Melo's closet that's gonna make him go, oh my God, I can't believe, like there's a relatability to his realness. You know what I mean? Like he's a superstar on like LeBron James type level, but he's down to earth. You know what I mean? Like he's a real guy at the end of the day. And I think people got to really see that this season, really got to see him as a person. And obviously like it all leading into him going into the Hall of Fame couldn't hurt as well. You know what I'm saying? So I'm forever grateful for him, forever grateful for his entire team. And, that's been a friendship I truly cherish. And season 3 is going to be crazy. You have no idea how crazy season 3 is going to be.
Congratulations to you guys again. Yo, it's a dope show.
Thank you,
I try my best to limit my exposure to podcasts, obviously,
Same.
because like I don't want to like poison the well.
Yeah.
But there's a few that's on like, you know, on my like to watch list, and you guys are definitely.
I appreciate that, man. Yeah. Thank you, dude. I'm the same way. I don't watch a ton of other people's podcasts unless it's my friends, or like I'll watch them in clips. But like to sit down, like I gotta really like fuck with you to be like, all right, I'm gonna watch this whole thing, because I don't want to poison the well either. Like,
it's tough because I go in with like very strong opinions, and I don't want no one like fucking
exactly.
So what's next? Like, is there anything around the corner? Anything you have coming up, or
a bunch,
just, like, you know?
Man, a bunch. I think this past year has been one of the most gratifying of my entire career, and I've had a pretty lengthy media career already, but I think now, you know, people are starting to really see my worth as far as like being able to produce, be able to be behind the scenes, a lot of trust with it, not just, you know, other brands, but other talents. And I'm going to continue to create, man. Like, I think now more than ever, like you said, people are thirsting for IRL experiences. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, as cool as it is to be on this phone or on this screen or however you're watching this, like, people still got to come out and see you and touch you and know that you're a real guy. So, like, I've been really deep diving into that. I've been, you know, working on a couple of film projects as well, documentaries, films, scripted series. Obviously, season 3 at 7 p.m. is coming very, very soon. The NBA season is going to kick off any day now. But in addition to that, man, like I've created some great relationships with some great partners. I'm doing some cool stuff with Fanatics and Tops at the top of the year. So, you know, there's a show called Rippin' Packs that's going to be dropping very soon with, I won't spoil the guest, but you'll see it when it drops. Obviously, still doing some great stuff with WWE and just pro wrestling in general. My Ringer podcast has been doing great, and you know, I look at the guys like Stephen A. Smith and, you know, and Stan Verrett, and, you know, just legendary, you know, and not even the older guys. Like I'm a fan of, like, you know, guys in my age range, like guys. I'm such a big fan of like Jinx Jenkins, Brandon Jinx, and Speedy Mormon, and, you know, all those guys, like Lance Fresh, like guys that are just like, we're not going to be clickbaity journalists, but like, you know, just put out quality content. Like, I want to put out stuff that I would actually like to watch as well. That doesn't make me feel a little bit dumber after watching it. You know what I mean? So I'm going to continue to do that. And, you know, I think there's way more. I don't think I'm done yet. I don't think I'm walking away from this anytime soon. Like, I kids to feed. And I'm glad to still be having fun while doing this. When it's not fun anymore, I'll learn how to do construction or something.
Like potting, like I do that for free. Well, I did do that for free.
Yeah, we all do it for free at one point. Yeah.
So like, I have the love for it, and like I get it. I don't think I'd ever retire or anything like that. So.
Like I think, you know, originally, you know, I'm a journalist by heart. I'm a writer by heart. And like, I'll always feel the need to get out my thoughts. I don't know if that's the Pisces in me or whatever, but like, I'm an extroverted, emotional person. And a lot of my work comes from emotion. A lot of my work comes from like something that I feel, like not just like, you know, I'm not just going to say the thing that needs to be said because everybody's saying it. Unless I truly feel that way, you know, and that same sort of intuition that I talked about earlier that you said, like, you're always kind of right about, like, that's what kind of leads me. And my intuition will tell me when it's time to tap out too. My intuition will tell me when it's like, this ain't the right move. Like, this is the way to go. So until then, I'm going to continue to try and grow, and not just for myself. Like, I feel like there's definitely opportunities to grow myself so others can benefit off it as well. That's always been my goal. Like, I always tell myself, if I'm the only one that benefits from all this, I've done this so wrong. Like, other people that I care about, other people that I feel like that are talented, other folks that need the opportunity or need somebody like I needed somebody at that age or that point in my career, I want to hope that I'm that person to help give them that opportunity. If it wasn't for guys like Stoute, Londell, you know what I mean, LeBron, Melo, WWE folks, Vince McMahon, Road Dogg. Like, if it wasn't for these people that like gave me the push, gave me the opportunity to go out and do something, then I don't know where I'd be. I can't wait till I'm that guy
to give
those to somebody else. You know what I mean? Yeah. So that's where I'm at with it.
That's dope. That's a good place to wrap. Yo, I'm beyond impressed with what you've been able to do with your career, bro.
I'm impressed with you, man. Like, dog, y'all understand? Like, we used to sit in the same fucking homeroom class. What was it sophomore or junior year? St. Patrick?
Yeah, it was junior year because I pulled up junior year.
And I tell people, all right, so it was junior year. And I tell people all the time, right? Like, anytime like I tell about my origin story, like what made me get into media. Do you remember what it was?
I don't know.
So, all right. So
I might remember.
For folks not know, St. Pat's is like a fucking basketball powerhouse, right? Like
it's a high school built around a basketball
yes,
team.
Like if it wasn't for the basketball team like this, and it did happen, the school would shut down, right? So like, you know, the day that we played Oak Hill on ESPN, when it was our first ESPN game, I think we were nationally ranked. I wasn't getting like a ton of burn, but I knew I was going to play, right? Like I was a senior. I was like, all right, like they're going to get me in there. I still haven't committed nowhere. Bong. ESPN on TV. And mind you, ESPN has high school games all the time now. But back then, big fucking deal. It was like primetime shootout. It was maybe like a year. It had to be a year after LeBron like was first on TV or something like that. And we're playing Oak Hill. And you remember DC? We had Derek Character,
I remember
Jeff,
DC.
all those guys. We was stacked.
I was just talking about him the other day.
But DC, shout out Derek Character, man. And DC was like baby Shaq in our high school. And I'm like, oh, we about to smack these niggas on ESPN. We gonna smack them on ESPN. We about to get all these looks. Every college coach is here. We in the primetime shootout. It's up. And I see their skinny ass center walking to tip the ball up. I'm seeing this dude 6'9", maybe like $160 soaking wet. I'm like, food. We killing this dude. They win the tip. First off the tip, they tip it off to this kid, Casey Rivers, bangs on us immediately. We're like, holy shit. All right. Go back down, get another bucket. Skinny 7-foot dude, 160 pounds. Never in my life up until that point bringing the ball up. I'm like, why is he bringing the ball up? Get your big ass in the paint. Has he pull? Whap. It's fucking Kevin Durant. Junior year Kevin Durant just lighting us up. And I'm just like, this shit is gonna be tough. Like I need to think of a backup plan. Like this is, you know, I still in my stupid like 16-year-old mind, I still thought there was like an outside chance I can get paid to play basketball somewhere. Right? I saw this big skinny motherfucker giving DC the work on ESPN, and I'm just like,
so what y'all do?
I don't even want to go overseas. Like I need a real job. I need to figure that shit out. So I always tell that story because, like, you know, and then I finally got in the game, and you know, I'll never forget the announcers. They was like, now checking into the game is Kazeem Famuyide. Hey Bob, you want to get this one? I was just like, yo. Oh, it was a pivotal time in my young teenage life where I was like, basketball is hard. Even though I'm pretty good at it, I need to figure out a backup. And I got to tell Katie that story like much later in life. So it all comes around full circle. I didn't make it to the NBA, but I kind of finagled my way in there somehow without hooping.
That's crazy. I didn't know that's why you got into journalism. I was going to say like
I still thought like I was like, all right, I'm going to my senior year. Like I'm catching a little. I caught my little one dunk per game. Like I wasn't like putting up crazy numbers, but if you got a highlight on High School Hoops NJ.com, I was like, all right, I'm up there. All right, I get my little tip slam, get my little putbacks, my little alley oops. I'm like, all right, someone is seeing that, and they see I'm on St. Pat's. The team is loaded. Someone's gonna offer me, right? I did not know what a loaded high school team looked like until we played Oak Hill. Like their whole like first 8 players either got a cup of coffee in the league or was in the league or is the greatest fucking scorer of all time or something like that. So it was just like, you know, it definitely brought me back down to earth But, you know.
Bro, it worked out.
I think it worked out, man. St. Patrick's High School, man. We hardly knew you. You're the Patrick School now. Shout out Coach Evanis, though, man.
Yeah. Shout out to Coach for keeping the dream alive.
Man, I got to. I tell you, I got to do the commencement speech a couple years ago.
Word?
Yeah, did the commencement. I think it was the year that I forgot who was going on. It wasn't Kaminga. It was somebody else who was like their top guy over there. But I did the commencement speech because Shavanis looked out and wanted me to come speak there. I think we saw each other at like E's restaurant. Mm-hmm. And he was like, yeah, like, you know, we'd love for you to come and do the graduation speech and talk to the kids. I was like, me? Of all people? So, full circle moment right there, man. It was beautiful.
I was about to be like, you're probably one of the most lit, like, alumni, but then I remember, like, I mean.
Kyrie Irving's kind of, he's a little lit, you know what I mean?
He got some shit going.
He's all right. He's doing all right. Kaminga. Somebody got to get Kaminga a deal. So.
That's crazy.
But, all right, man. Bro. I just want to say, man, everything you've done. I've watched your pod clips and I've seen some episodes as well. But like, you know, it's just really dope to reconnect with you on something like this, man. And I'm glad I could come and be on Pillars. So I appreciate you for having me, dude.
Yeah, and I appreciate you pulling up, man. Sir. Like, I mean, I feel like this is like kind of one of those like full circle moments.
Hell yeah. It's just we just getting started, baby.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thank you for watching One of One Pillars podcast, and looking forward to seeing you guys next time.
Peace.
We're good to wrap.